Welcome to PLZ Soccer in this one-to-one with, I'm delighted to say, former Aberdeen player Mikey Devlin is with me here in the studio. Don't forget, on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel, you can hit the subscribe button and join the football family. So many subscribers and viewers. We'd like to thank you for that, and hopefully you enjoy our unique video content. Michael, delighted to see you. We've known each other a long time. To be fair, if I was saying to you sum up the highs and lows, this could be a 3-hour special. But you're now Mikey Devlin, formerly of Aberdeen, and looking to get back playing football again.
Yeah, definitely. There's been a fair few ups and downs over the years, and particularly in the kind of past 18 months or so. But now, fortunately, I'm feeling good. Since I left Aberdeen, I've been working with somebody that one of my best mates, McKenna, actually put us in touch with, and he works with the national team, and he's put us through my rehab, and he's a real specialist in that area, and I'm feeling great at the moment and ready to kick on and go and do pre-season and hopefully get myself sorted.
How difficult was it, the decision between you and Jim Goodwin, when you realised, well, the game's up here?
It was tough though. I had a kind of mix of emotions. You know, Jim was brilliant with us. He came in, you know, his first day more or less at the training ground, he put us in for a chat and kind of laid out, you know, what he's seen and what his vision was, kind of thing, and it was pretty simplistic, but all that a player can ask for really, in terms of him saying, look, get yourself fit. I can't guarantee you anything. My contract's up at the end of the season. Get yourself fit and we'll see how things go. And I'd known Jim for my time at Hamilton, so it was just about trying to get fit and see how it went. And I picked up an injury in my first training session under him, and we had an honest chat after it, and he said there wasn't going to be anything there for us at the end of the season, and that the kind of ball was in my court in terms of, you can stay here, we've got a duty of care by you, both physically and mentally, to get you right and get you ready to go somewhere else. But if you feel like you're best served, you know, going home, being with your family and your friends and people around about you and doing your own thing, then we'll support you in that and try and look after you. So there was a sadness about it, because albeit probably I never really fulfilled what my own hopes and ambitions were at Aberdeen, and it kind of came to end the way it did with our past kind of 18 months. There was also a feeling of kind of relief that it was over, and it was more just a case of, for the last while, you know, it was so monotonous for us, Peter, in terms of getting in every day, getting into the physio room, you know, rehab, being in a gym myself, working through the same stuff daily, having that slight glimmer of hope that I was going to get back playing or training, and then something else would happen, the breakdown, you know. So for that side of things, I thought, right, I'm not going into that same environment anymore. I've got to change of scenery. I can go down the road, I can go and do my own thing and work with who I want to work with and get myself right. So there was a bit of both, but generally speaking, I would say it was disappointment that it worked out the way it had.
Yeah, how difficult is it psychologically in your mind? Because there must be a point where you're thinking setback, you know, unfulfillment, especially at Aberdeen. Was there moments when you're in that dark place where you think, I'm going to chuck this?
Yeah, there was, to be honest, more than one, where you just find that it was getting too regular for us, and you know, my happiness became paramount at that point. And since I was a kid, the only thing, or not the only thing, but the biggest thing in my life that made me happy was playing football, and that was my love, and everything I cared about, everything I'd done in my life was to try and play football. And whenever you can't do that, it was difficult, and we accept and we understand, anybody that's in football, that injuries are part and parcel of the game. But whenever they were ongoing and we couldn't get to the bottom of certain things, and then there was another recurrence of certain injuries, and it became difficult. But fortunately, I've got a brilliant family behind me and good friends as well, and that's who you lean on at times whenever you're struggling, and they're there to pick you up and drag you through it. You know, my girlfriend as well is there for us whenever I need her, and she understands as well that it can be tough, but she's really supportive, which is great. So you need good people around about you at tough times, and fortunately for me, I've had that, and been able to kind of come through the other side and always remember what I'm trying to do and what I'm trying to achieve, and hopefully where I'd like to go, and give it another go.
Yeah, the Mikey Devlin in the timeline at Aberdeen that I was particularly delighted for, because obviously I know your mum and dad and how proud they are of what you've achieved. There was a purple patch where you were playing regularly, and suddenly I can just imagine your mum and dad just watching you, come out of the tunnel playing for Scotland, which is just the ultimate.
Yeah, well, the Scotland call up and being part of the squads and everything, that was brilliant, but you're always hopeful that you get that cap, and you get the opportunity to play. And my first game was against Russia, which was away from home, and they didn't quite make it to that, and probably wasn't a bad thing to be fair, and we got pumped 4-0. Having said that, I think that was maybe the catalyst for how the national team went on and done, so albeit that was an embarrassing night for us all, maybe I'll take a bit of credit and say after that Steve Clark thought I need to get rid of him. I need to get rid of him and get some proper defenders in. But the next game was San Marino at Hampden, and all my family and were at the game, and something I've spoken about before, but that was quite emotional for us when we sang the national anthem. I could see my mum and dad, sitting where they were, and I had to kind of look away, to be honest, because I could see what it meant to them and what it meant to me, that without my parents I wouldn't be where I am, and I'm fully aware of that, and to be able to give them that experience, even if I hadn't achieved anything else after that, to give them that experience of being at Hampden and watching their son, who they've supported through thick and thin, and given every opportunity they can to play for his country and sing the national anthem was special for us. So that's certainly been a massive high for us.
And at that point at Aberdeen, did you feel as if you were learning, you were getting better as a defender, you were at a club with, real expectations?
Yeah, I remember speaking to Dale when I signed, and something he spoke about was the exposure to big games, expectation of winning, semi-finals, European football, cup finals, pushing to be in the top 2 or 3 in the country, and he said all those things will develop you as a player as well as me and my coaching staff, and that's certainly how I felt things were going for me at that point. When I first came in, formed a good partnership with McKenna, and we kind of kicked on, and Dale trusted the two of us to go and play, and I think at that point things were going well. I was playing with Aberdeen, I kind of managed to get myself in the Scotland squads, and I felt like the kind of only way I can describe it is I kind of felt like I'd arrived at that kind of stage where I thought, right, okay, you've got hopes and ambitions when you're a kid, certainly in terms of your club football and where you would like to go. The national team, certainly in my experience, was always something that you would have loved to have done, was a dream, but you're never ever sure if it's going to become a reality or not, and it's only really through doing well with your club that you maybe get that opportunity. So when that happened, I thought, right, okay, here we are, it's time to really go for this. And then kind of injuries started, and that was always something I kind of looked back on. It took me time to kind of process that and go over it, but that was something that was a source of frustration for us, that I felt I never quite, once I got to that point, I think you hear guys at the top level talking about it, that then that's the time to kick on again. It's not time to say, all right, I'm here. And just as I had that wee taste of it, when you really wanted to go and grab it and go and kick on, and not that I ever thought I was going to be a regular with Scotland, but I felt I was a kind of regular in the squad, which was a massive achievement for us, and it got the taste of playing for my country, but certainly with Aberdeen as well. I felt, right, okay, I'm starting to establish myself and earn the trust of the manager, and it kind of unravelled after that a bit for us, and never quite got into that kind of rhythm, if you like.
Yeah, let's look to the positives. You're 28, plenty of time. I think the one thing that a number of people will look at and say, okay, Michael Devlin didn't quite work out at Aberdeen. They will definitely look and say, my God, look at the injuries. This is a gamble. Let's deal with how you've tried to minimise the gamble, which is you've gone away, you've severed your ties with Aberdeen, and you've looked towards a specialist that can really hone in on how to try and make you as robust as possible.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what I've done, Peter. So I got in touch. It was actually Scott McKenna that had put us in touch with him. He'd done a little bit of work with him as well, regarding a couple of injuries he had. And the guy's name's Shane, and when I kind of sat down with Shane, he says, look, I want to get to the kind of the core issue here, and not just kind of solely focus on whatever injury we're currently dealing with. We need to look at why you're getting injuries and really try and solve that problem. And if we get to the root, then hopefully that will give you the kind of stability and strength and robustness, as you said, to move forward and hopefully stay clear of certainly big injuries. You can't make somebody invincible, but you can certainly make them as robust as you possibly can, and that's what I've done. We stripped it right back, went back to basics, looked at the way I was moving, looked at my mobility, stability in different positions, and thinks he's pinpointed, or we feel that we understand my body and understand why there's been things happening, and we've set about trying to rectify that. So it's been a good 10 weeks that we've worked, almost every day of the week, 6 days a week we've trained, and got myself in a good place, and I'm really excited now about what's next, because I feel I can trust my body, and I feel I'm ready for another challenge. And it's coming that point of the season, I think, where every footballer gets excited, albeit pre-season's not particularly enjoyable in terms of you get the...
But it's fair to say you need a pre-season.
Yeah, for sure. I think I've not had that for a couple of years now, and you're always playing catch up, I feel, when you miss a pre-season. So yeah, there's that part of it where you think, oh God, that's running to do, but it's an exciting time for a footballer, because there's new signings, and the club, or whatever club you're at, is changing, and it's a fresh start. You've got hopes and ambitions for that season, and I'm kind of part of that now, albeit I don't have a club. That's where I'm at, where I'm excited about it, and I'm feeling, really enthusiastic about what the next opportunity is for us.
So you've got a few irons in the fire, I would imagine.
There's a couple of opportunities to go in, and I'm going in to a club to do pre-season next week, with the hope that if I do well and I stay fit, then there might be something there for us, in terms of a contract. But I don't like counting my chickens, so to speak. So I know the responsibility's on me, and all I can ask for really is an opportunity to go and prove that, which fortunately this manager has given me, and I'll do everything I can to make sure that I can stay fit, train well, and show what I can do.
So from that perspective, you're obviously going to you've got to go and impress somebody. It's almost like the addition, once more, of what Mikey Devlin has still to offer. Secondary to that, there'll be some other managers out there didn't know your availability, didn't know that you're free from injury, you're going through the fitness campaign. So from that point of view, have you got an agent that will deal with you? And are you quite prepared to come and go? Because I know a number of managers would look and say, well, listen, we'll need to work out some kind of incentive here, security for us, and a commitment from you. Yeah,
no, for sure. My agent, Bill Pethybridge, he's speaking to clubs and making clubs aware. Now, I think we wanted to wait until I was at that point where I was fully fit, before he started having a conversation with clubs. But in terms of where I'm at, I'm fully aware of how my circumstances have been for the last couple of years, and that clubs may be wary of that. But I feel that if I can show clubs that I'm fit and healthy and able to train and ready to play and be at my best, then they'll give me an opportunity. And I understand fully, Peter, that a contract will reflect that. I'm not arrogant enough to assume differently. And like I said, all I'm desperate for is an opportunity to show that I'm able to, get to my potential and play the way I think I can play.
Yeah.
And if a club's willing to do that, then brilliant.
And I presume girlfriend, have bags, the two of you, up sticks, whatever it takes you in football.
Well, she actually lives in London, so for now, she's pursuing her own things, her own career. She works in finance, so she's doing her own thing, which is quite good, because it means I can focus on myself, to be honest, and get myself right. And I don't need to worry about her having to get dragged about or doing her own. She's very ambitious herself, which is great. So for now, it's just about sorting myself out, which is enough of a chore without having to worry about somebody else.
Yeah, knowing that we both come from the same area, I'm so glad that she's investing the money just so that she can take care of you
exactly,
as well. We need that equality in your life, Michael.
Absolutely.
As far as the football is concerned, I mean, as a defender, you got that move from Hamilton Accies to Aberdeen because of the quality of what you were showing. Do you feel confident you can get back to those heady heights? Is that the main aim? Is it just in your own mind now? Get the confidence, get a run of games, and see what I can do.
A bit of both. I think when you've been out a long time, there's an element of the unknown that when you come back, how you're going to be. But I think the confidence is coming back in myself because of how my body feels and how I've responded to the rehab and the training that I've been doing with Shane. And that gives me real hope that I know I can get back to that level, and confidence in myself as well. So first and foremost, that it needs to be about getting through the training, getting through the pre-season, and getting some minutes under my belt, and then allowing myself to get back to that level of feeling right, I can really push on here and and show the best version of myself. You know, the first season I joined Aberdeen, they signed me halfway through my rehab with Hamilton. I was come back for a knee injury at that point, and I was probably in a similar situation where I had been out for about 13 months at that point, and I came back for pre-season in that summer, and I hadn't trained really. I'd done a couple of sessions at the end of the season, but I hadn't trained properly, I hadn't played a game, and I'm kind of in the situation I'm in now, albeit I was under contract at Aberdeen. I was going to have to go through the same process. You know, I felt like I was impressing Dale and Doc. I had to earn my position within the team. Pre-season was really important. Every training session, every game that I played. And we were playing Burnley in the first qualifiers of the Europa League at that point. So everybody in the squad was desperate to try and be in the team for that game. Unfortunately, I managed to get myself in the team. So I've came through that process before where I hadn't trained in a long time, I hadn't played in a long time, and I had to use that 3-4 weeks of pre-season or whatever we had to get myself back up to speed. But fortunately, everyone's kind of in that boat. Coming back for pre-season, everybody's a bit of time off. Obviously, most of I haven't been off as long as I have, but everyone's takes time. Everybody's bodies adjust to the intensity of pre-season and takes time to get to the level. So fortunately, I've had a sustained period of time now of training and feeling good, and know my body, know what I need, and I need to try and utilise that as best I can going into pre-season to manage myself to make sure I stay fit.
Yeah, we've talked about quite a number of lows since we started this chat. Were there highs at Aberdeen? Is there any games that stick in your mind you think that was the best of me?
Yeah, there was a couple. Fortunately, there was. We played Hibs on a Friday night. We were going through a good patch. We won 4 in a row. We played Rangers in the semi-final of the League Cup. We won 1-0. Fergie scored the header. And we played Hibs on the Friday night as well. One was the other kind of time about, and I got man of the match in both games. The semi-final against Rangers, we didn't play well in the game at all, actually. It was embarrassing, to be honest, how bad we were. But we got the result. We won 1-0, and there was a lot of defending needing done for the team. We sat very deep, but there were occasions like that where I think that might have been my first game at Hampden. First time I'd played at Hampden, and we won into the final against Celtic, where we lost, unfortunately. But there was loads of good games, Peter, in terms of the magnitude or scale of games. Sometimes not in that sense. You know, there was, we get beaten semi-finals and beaten the final as well. But there was loads of games that I played in Burnley, for example, albeit we lost. What an experience that was to play Burnley at Aberdeen in front of 20,000, and then going down to Turfmoor and playing them there. Was unbelievable. Rangers in the first game of the season that day, that couple of weeks was incredible for a start to a new club, to playing games that meant so much to everybody, that there was a lot of pressure on and a lot of expectation, and I loved that. I loved that side of playing for Aberdeen, that the manager Dale was huge on that this is a massive club and the expectation needs to be that we win every game, and that certainly against the bigger teams we're going toe to toe over them. It's not a case of sitting in and trying to nick something. And I loved that part of it, whereas probably at Hamilton, without being disrespectful at Hamilton, I understood that we weren't going to win every game, and that winning the odd game to try and keep you in the league was, I don't want to say enough because it's never enough, but it was accepted, if you like, and I always wanted a bit more. I always wanted the demand of having to win, it didn't really matter how you won, but I wanted the demand of winning, and that was the first and foremost, the most important thing. And I got that when I went to Aberdeen.
What were the fans like?
Aberdeen, brilliant to be fair. They took to us really early on, after I signed, and probably the Burnley games helped. That the team done well in those games and we performed pretty well, albeit we lost. But even right up to the end, Peter, when I met people out and about, and even guys I'd became friends with, and people I knew from around the city, but anytime I seen them with words of encouragement, backing and support all the time, which was brilliant, because I understood that they must have been looking going, where is he? He's been non-existent for God knows how long, but I think a lot of them understood and empathised with the situation I was in, and just wanted the best for us really, and to try and get back.
Did you enjoy working for Derek?
Loved it, aye, I loved it. I think that the balance Dale got with Doc, Peanut, Paul Sheeran and Barry Robson was he had a kind of young staff, youngish to be fair, that got the balance of having a laugh and a joke, as well as the work aspect to it. And I loved that. You know, we used to do a kind of a rondo, they called it, where it was the full team in a circle at the start of training, right? And they joined in. Dale's never in the middle, Dale never gave the ball away, and even if he did, they'd just send somebody else in. Doc was in the middle all the time. He was just constantly in the middle. But it was like a story time almost, where he'd ask, he'd say, right, what was happening at the weekend, or what do we do, and all that kind of stuff, you know. And it was just brilliant. It was a great start, but we knew that when it came to training, it was time to work, you know, and come a match day, that was the most important day of the week. It was all about 3 points, and he's a winner, born winner, Dale. And it's no surprise to me he went to Killie and got them promoted. And I'm sure they'll do well this year as well, but I loved it. Like I said, the expectation and the pressure that he put on us, you know, he blocked out everything else, but that's what I thrived on. And just even personally at the right time, he would have a chat with you, he would talk to you, he would phone when I was away with the national team, he'd give you a phone after the game or a text or whatever, you know, just check in with you, see how you were doing. And even after the big injuries I had at Aberdeen, after my dad, when I spoke to my dad, Dale would have been the first person to phone us. You know, I was sitting in the flat, or I was on my way home or something like that, and he'd just say, I'm just checking in with you, how you doing? You know, I'm gutted for you, pal, and that. You know, just small things that I remember. And apart from anything else, Peter, he gave me the opportunity. So irrespective of it, you know, towards the end of Dale's time, I was injured, but also was kind of out of the team, I wasn't playing. But I'll never forget that Dale gave me the opportunity to come to a club like Aberdeen, which, you know, a byproduct of that was getting more opportunity with Scotland, and I'm not sure that would have happened if I hadn't came to Aberdeen. And he gave me a contract when I was nursing an injury at the time, which I'm not sure many managers would have done. When I was at Hamilton, and was able to go on and play a good number of games and get my Scotland caps.
Yeah, it would have been an obvious disappointment for you, Stephen Glass. Not even in any way needing to help someone who was right under the cosh.
Yeah, I was disappointed about that. Glassy was brilliant. You know, gave me a new contract when he came in as well for it was basically 6 months with a 6 month option. And between Glassy, Scott Brown, Alan Russell, and Henry, you know, the other assistant as well, they were top drawers, like blind faith in us that I could get back and that they knew the player I was. And there was a real kind of source of frustration for us that I couldn't get back fit to help the team in any way. And not that I'm saying I'd improved it, but you feel as a player you want to try and play your part and do as much as you can. And unfortunately with injuries I couldn't get back to that. And I was gutted when Glassy got sacked, and the rest of the staff, and obviously Bruni. I was close with Bruni up there when shortly after Bruni left as well. So it felt like a real change, which was a shame that things never worked out at all, really, for Glassy. And he had brilliant ideas. He had a great philosophy, really progressive in the way he wanted to play and set things up. And for whatever reason, I'm not sure why, to be honest, it never worked out in terms of how he wanted it to, but certainly his ideas and principles were spot on.
Did you say, I mean, you've played with players, Hamilton, the remit, stay in the league, you go to Aberdeen, the expectation, win games, get to cup finals if you can. Did you see a real sea change when Scott Brown joined? Because he had a totally different mentality. This is a guy who's just trophy-laden career.
Right, massively, even for day one. And also, I didn't know Bruni personally when he signed, but having played against him, I knew the type of character he was. And to be honest, I used to think he's definitely targeting me in the pitch here. I remember we played Celtic in a semi-final, I was playing right back, and I could swear during the game, I was playing against wee Johnny and he was giving me a torrid time, and I could hear Bruni shouting, keep going down the left, keep going down the left, and I felt like shouting back saying, no, stop coming down the left, he's a break.
Yeah.
But when he came in, I knew the type he was, and day one, walks into the physio room, Bruni's first day, he's sitting, lying in the bed, hands over his head, feet up, just terrorising every day in the place. Straight away I thought, right, I can see how big a character, and everybody knows how big a character he is, but you can see his confidence, and he was the first one in the building. Peter, I was injured for the full time he was there, and normally injured boys are the first people in. Never was I in before Bruni. Bruni was the first player there, last player to leave. Every day he was in the gym before training, doing his warm-up and getting everything organised. Look, the way he looked after himself, the way he ate. I watched everything he done. I know that sounds a bit fanboy, but
yeah,
I watched everything, what he put in his plate, what he drank in terms of hydration tablets, or how much water, all the rest of it, how he trained, how he conducted himself, how he spoke to people, how he was with staff, everything. Because I thought in Scotland, certainly, you're going to be difficult to find somebody that's achieved what he's achieved, and there's a reason that he's done that. The demands he put in people at training, timekeeping, professionalism around the place, small things that sometimes can go unnoticed. Bruni, nothing went unnoticed with him. He noticed everything, picked up on everything, and even something stupid like we'd a rule on the fine list: no phones were allowed 45 minutes before training, and you were only allowed in your phone in your changing room. And at this point with COVID, everybody was in different changing rooms. And Bruni would come out the gym at 16 minutes past 10. We trained at 11 o'clock. 16 minutes past 10, and because he was a hybrid, he was a coach and a player, he was allowed in everybody's changing room, whereas players weren't allowed in each other's because of COVID.
Yeah.
Bruno would go in at 16 minutes past 10 and catch every day about 5 boys on their phone and just walk in with tenner, and walk out every day, get about 250 quid by the end of the week. It was small things like that he made a laugh and a joke about it, but it was about standards and professionalism and doing the right thing. You know, at that point in the day, get yourself ready for training, get ready to go and train and do your work. And I loved that about him as well, that was an example set to all. And even someone like I'm 28 now, you can never stop learning, never stop taking wee golden nuggets, if you like, off other players. And for the young lads as well, what a brilliant example to the younger boys in the squad. And even somebody like Fergie, I think about, who's, you know, learning his trade. You know, he's fairly established now, but to have somebody like Bruni playing beside him and watching what he does every day, a brilliant example from him.
Well, I was going to say that to you because you would have played against him and you obviously know the type of player he is when he's your adversary. Were you surprised about the levels of him when he joined as a player and he's your teammate?
I don't know if surprised was the right word, because I think we all knew how good he was at Celtic. But I think I probably appreciate him more when you play with him, in the sense that you understand how good he is for your team, both as a player and as a leader. In the big games as well, it was how he took responsibility that was eye-opening for me, if you like. You know, in the big games when Aberdeen were up against it in European fixtures or big games against Celtic and Rangers, probably our best performances this year came against Celtic and Rangers, and we were poorer against other teams. And Bruni was central to that. You know, at times he played in the middle of back three for us at Ibrox, and he was colossal. His reading of the game, his understanding of the game, how he influenced other people. That was probably what I noticed the most. You know, it was the smaller things that probably, unless you're playing with him or training with him, you maybe miss and you don't see. But certainly for Aberdeen, that short exposure the club had to him was huge.
How do you think he'll do as a manager?
I think he'll be great. I think his instincts as a person, his personality lend itself to being a manager. I think similar to a Gerrard or a Lampard, Bruni will instantly command respect because of the career he had for anywhere he goes. Captain of Scotland, captain of Celtic, and how decorated he is as a captain of Celtic, it's incredible. So for that side of things, I think that takes care of itself. As a person, I think his standards and what he expects will be second to none. And his understanding of the game, he's worked under some unbelievable managers. You know, even when he came to Aberdeen, you know, he referenced Brendan Rodgers a lot and the way he operated and what he done. And he said, like I said, he's been able to learn for some top managers. And I think he'll utilise that and put that into everything that he does. So I know he's got the job at Fleetwood now, and I'm sure that he'll be a success wherever he went. Bruni will do well.
From your own point of view, you're in a situation where you'll have options. What would you say to anyone right now about what they're getting, what they'll be getting? What type of player are they getting if someone wants to take that chance with you?
In terms of a player that they're getting, I think somebody that can defend, that knows how to defend, and I'd like to think that I can play as well. I remember Dale having a conversation with Dale at one point, and he says, just remember always that you're not a ball playing centre back, you're a defender that can play, and there's a difference now in the modern game, and that's how I'd like to see myself. I'm a defender that can play at the right time. But most importantly, over and above that, Peter, you're getting somebody that's hungry and that feels like they've not fulfilled what they can, and I'm determined to show that and to do that. And if a club can give us that opportunity to do that, then I hope to repay them by being the player that I can be, and like I said earlier, being the best version of myself, which will hopefully be good enough for that club. So getting somebody that really wants to get back to where they were and where they feel they're capable of being, and like I said, all the hunger and ambition in the world, they lost time, lost opportunities, I want to make up for it.
Yeah. Will you continue with the specialist? Will you continue that individual assessment and building on things if you get a club?
Yeah, for sure. I think that at the moment I'm finding what works for us. And like I said, we kind of tried to get to the root cause of the problem, and that's something I need to maintain. You know, we're certainly not out of the woods. This is an ongoing process that I need to continue to build and keep working. It'll take time, but I think in football or in any professional sport, you've never really arrived, or you've never really got yourself to a point where you can say, right, I've done, you know. And that's what examples to me, like Bruni, be Johnny Hayes as well, the way they're older Andy Considine. These guys never stop. They're always looking after themselves. They always are in the gym before training, doing what they need to do, the way they recover for games, the way they eat, their ice baths, all the rest of it. It's an ongoing process that needs to be a career thing for me. This now needs to be a lifestyle in order to try and maximise what career I can have. It can't just be, right, I've rehabbed for 10 weeks since I've left Aberdeen. If I get an opportunity to go in and train somewhere, right, okay, that's me done, I'm back to normal now. I can live like anybody else, or just come in, train and leave. It needs to be a lifestyle for us now, and I understand that.
Yeah. Just before we finish, obviously you've left the club behind, which has got a new manager. He's come in for a kind of a torrid start, and I think he's got a lot of convincing to do with people, and Jim knows that, he'll relish that. Do you sense from that period with him that, you know, given a squad free of injury and maybe the right signings, that Aberdeen can have a good season this season?
To be honest, I've got no doubt that Jim will be a success at Aberdeen. I think the type of character he has got massive expectations both for himself and for the club. I think he knows he needs to rebuild a bit. I think he probably came into the club knowing that, and I think that without being, you know, kind of negative about where the squad was at that point, I think with Bruni leaving, with a few players being out of contract, and he probably got his eyes opened a wee bit in terms of how big the job was when he first went in. But he'll have been working hard, him and Sharpie, his assistant. They'll know full well what's ahead of them, and they've got a big summer ahead. But like I said, I feel like I know Jim quite well from my time at Hamilton, and even for the short time we spent at Aberdeen, and he's got all the weapons in the armoury he needs to do a good job there and to get the team where it needs to be. He'll have the backing of the board and Dave, the chairman, to go and make the signings that he needs to make, and I've got no doubt that he'll go on and he'll do a good job there.
Yeah, and finally, I know you're big pals with Scott McKenna. Is there the banter must be sensational, because he's going to be playing Premier League football in England, you know, this season coming. Is the banter good? Is there a wee moment of envy in the back of your mind, thinking, bloody hell, I could have been there with him. I could have gone onto that same level.
Well, I keep every time in the build up towards the playoffs, every time they won, I used to text him after the game saying, if you end up in the Prem, the balls burst. The game is gone. If I need to watch Match of the Day next year and I see you run about just heading the ball as far as you can. But no, do you know what? He's done brilliant for himself since he's been down there. Change of manager's been unbelievable for him at the start of the season, but delighted for him. Of course, even though he's my best mate, I'm envious of the situation. I was at the playoff final when they won. He got man of the match in that game and scored last week for Scotland, and I think but as a best mate, you know, he's living the dream, and I'm just trying to jump in his coattails and live it through him and all. I'm cutting a bit. He's away on holiday now, he doesn't know I'm cutting a bit in his car. Saving a bit of mileage of my own, so he's going to come back to about 20,000 miles in his car and no petrol. But no, I'm delighted for him, and he's been a huge support to us, Peter, as well, to be honest, through that time. As is, I've got, you know, Stephen O'Donnell's one of my best mates as well, and I'm lucky in that way that I've got guys that play in the game and have been there for us. So no, I'm delighted for him. You know, Scotty's, you know, his potential was always there, and now he's going to go and be a Premier League player next year. So.
Well, listen, I mean, it's been a great chat. I mean, I hope that the managers that are looking at you now, somebody takes the plunge and gives you the chance to resurrect what I thought was a really promising career. Fingers crossed that works out for you. I hope you steer clear of injury. Certainly I'm going to make sure that I'm going to hold you all the way up these stairs as you leave the studio, because I don't want to be the culprit for it. I wish you the very best, Michael. I hope you're back for club. Listen, you're only 28. Who knows what the future holds, but fingers crossed it all goes according to plan. Thanks very
much, Bill. Thanks for having us.
Top man.